This is What Do You Bring to the Table, a nonprofit project made by youth for youth that aims to explore the many career paths available within our Canadian food systems. By interviewing industry leaders across the country, we get a first-hand look at the various existing and emerging agri-food career opportunities, with a particular focus on equity and sustainability. We want to thank the Catherine Maxwell Meighen Foundation, the Peterborough K.M. Charitable Foundation, and the R. Howard Webster Foundation. Please visit our website www.youthandfoodsystems.ca and sign up for our free monthly e-newsletter to stay involved. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Links to those are on our website. If you like what we are doing, please drop a like, review, or comment, or consider donating to help us continue our youth-driven work. Thanks for listening!
Chloe Casito interviews Dr. Mustafa Coach.
So my name is Chloe Casito, and I am a youth volunteer at Youth and Food Systems, a project of Seeds of Diversity. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Mustafa. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Mustafa Coach, and I'm a sociologist. I am an immigrant sociologist. I came to Canada in 1979 after finishing my undergraduate degree in what we now call Turkey. The old name is Turkey, and I went to University of Waterloo with my wife. We did our master's degrees there in sociology, and then moved to University of Toronto for the PhD. And then I specialized in sociology of agriculture and sociology of food. That has been one of my areas of specialization. The other is sociology of development. Later on, I also worked on sociology of immigration and globalization. But mostly I'm known as sociologist of agriculture and food.
Wow, that's really nice.
Uh-huh.
So how would you describe your job on a day-to-day basis?
Primarily, I consider myself as a sociologist, and sociologists are people, it's a discipline, trying to make sense of the way the society organized, how society organized, what causes social order, what causes social change. And in my second year, one of my friends I knew from my times at Trent University in Peterborough, Rod McRae, he was the director of the Toronto Food Policy Council. He said, "Would you like to join the Toronto Food Policy Council? Because you specialize in sociology of agriculture and food, you would be very helpful for us." So I was quite excited. I joined them. It's just like a voluntary citizens service. You don't get paid for that. But through the Food Policy Council, I could understand food policy matters, issues, the concerns about food insecurity in the city, how to connect countryside, the supply in the countryside with the demand in the cities, and questions about a sustainable food system, questions about whether we should be accepting genetically modified organisms in the food chain.
So what was the main thing that encouraged you to get into your field and, become the director and do all of these things afterwards?
Yeah. As a social scientist, I always wanted to understand how the patterns we see happen, how the structures and institutions are established, and how they impact our behavior and human behavior, and how these structures, these institutions shape our chances of having a equitable and better society. So I realized that understanding was part of it, but I also wanted to change it. And sociology allowed me to think about social change, not only understanding, but gave me that desire or ability to think about what we need to do to bring social change. So as a sociologist, I would also call myself both social scientist and a citizen activist. So I was always interested in understanding how to create a better society, how to create a better food system that is going to sustain everybody equitably in a fair way. How can we create better opportunities for people who are working in and who are feeding us, farmers, farm workers, people working in the food industry, in the restaurant industry, and I realized that a significant portion of these people are either immigrants or racialized people. So equity and social justice became a very important part of my involvement as a citizen activist and a social scientist in this field. So I still continue, and even though I am a retired sociology professor, I still am a citizen of this world, and I still care for bringing social justice, equity, sustainability, peace for everybody, and that is a objection. That's a goal that will never end for people like us, and I will keep working in this area as long as I can survive physically and mentally.
Of course. That's really inspiring. Yeah. So what is a difficult element of your job, and how do you tackle it?
Social change is a challenging concept, because you really need to understand what you want to change, and if you consider yourself like a doctor, you can do good for your patients, but you can also harm them. So you really have to learn, as a person committed to social change, how to avoid harming the society that you are trying to improve. Because sometimes with our best desires to do good, we may actually harm. So number one is learn not to harm. And that requires being critical of yourself, constantly questioning your ability, constantly questioning your knowledge. And is this information correct? Am I being biased in a particular way? How can I deal with my biases? There's nobody who is perfectly 100% objective and bias-free. I believe that we all have our own biases. But being aware and being self-reflective about our biases is an important part of this task. That way, I tell my students, I tell my community, these are my biases, this is how I think. But like, for example, I say, I believe in equity, I believe in justice. And some people will say, well, equity is not necessary. You don't need an equitable access to food. And some people believe that if we will have food for everybody, people will be lazy, they won't be working. So I have to say, is this correct? So I'm not only questioning myself, but I'm questioning the dominant values of our society, the biases of other people. And I say, okay, let me think. What if if we will provide food, if we will provide basic income to people, can we solve food insecurity? Can we solve hunger? Or are we going to make people lazy? So being self-reflective, questioning the dominant values of the society, questioning your own judgment is a challenge. And probably the most difficult part is going against the grain, because most of us living in this society are educated and bombarded by the dominant ideologies, dominant values, dominant perspectives of the society. Some of those ideologies, some of those perspectives are actually ideologies that justify existing structures, existing institutions. They justify existing inequalities.
So, what are some misconceptions of your role?
I don't know, because I mean, when I have misconceptions, I think thinking about your own misconceptions, it takes us back to this question of being self-reflexive. And because most of us tend to believe that our values, our way of thinking is the correct way of thinking. We are always right, but if we develop that critical thinking skills, this is what we hope to teach to our students at the universities. Like, not only all my career, I not only wanted to educate them about sociology of agriculture and food, but I also wanted to teach them critical thinking and critical inquiry, skills of critical thinking and critical inquiry, questioning your values, questioning the dominant values of the society, questioning the realities that we observe as normal, and if we will develop that critical thinking and critical inquiry, skills of critical thinking and inquiry, then we can understand when we are wrong, when we are mistaken, and that is also the most important thing about scientific thinking, because in scientific thinking, reality is always questionable. So you look at the evidence, and if that evidence is not supported by the theoretical approaches, you either have problems with your methodology in collecting that evidence, or the tools that are supposed to help you to analyze that data is not helpful. So you have to change your theories. And in belief systems, like in religion, for example, you cannot have that kind of questioning. The moment you start questioning, you are a heretic. You will be dismissed. In scientific way of thinking, we constantly have to be vigilant if our data is correct, what it means, how can we interpret that data? Is the theoretical approach we are using helpful to understand that reality? And that is the important thing for that awareness about our mistakes and problems.
Wow, I see. Okay, so so being really self-reflective impacts a lot of ways of thinking.
Absolutely. And it's not easy, but it's required.
I see. So what are some upcoming trends and innovations related to your field that you're interested in? If there are any.
There are innovations will never end. I mean, but when we talk about innovations, like especially in social sciences, innovations can be theoretical innovations, way of thinking, paradigm shifts. For example, we are dealing with the reality of climate change. And how are we going to study climate change? How are we going to understand the impacts of climate change on our agri-food system? How can we measure that? How can we convince politicians, general public about bringing change in our lifestyles, in our way of thinking? Think about plastics. Our body, the current knowledge indicates that on a weekly basis, we eat about 5 grams of plastics. It's the weight of a credit card. Every week, imagine every week we are eating a plastic credit card. And because microplastics get into our bloodstream and get into our organs, they are affecting our health. So we have to understand this problem and find out what we need to do to deal with this issue. Because we have our oceans, our food is full of these microplastics. Fish eat microplastics, we eat fish, we get the microplastics in our bodies. And when microplastics were introduced in the post-Second World War era, they were like miracles. They were very helpful. People were very happy, very excited. We could keep our food free from contamination with the help of plastics. But now we realize that we did serious problem to our environment, and that problem is affecting now our health. So we got to learn what kind of technologies we need to develop and what are the harms coming through those technologies. So we should be both open-minded to new technologies, new innovations, but we should also be constantly questioning the impacts of some of these new innovations on our environment and on human health. And we should resist the temptation for accepting some of these changes, some of these innovations, because they are profitable, because they are the latest and the newest. We should constantly be questioning, is there harm through them to our environment, to our human health, to the health of animals in nature? So if we think like that, I think innovations can at least do better, more good and less harm. That's what I think.
So I guess that goes to show how everything's like interconnected.
Absolutely.
And also
Very good point.
Importance of like inquiring everything.
Yeah.
Okay. How would you, or like what would you say to youth who are interested in getting into your role, getting into sociology or activism in any forms? What would you suggest?
For younger people?
Yeah.
I mean, just listen to your heart's desire and educate yourself. And like there are certain things that can be better for some people. Some people prefer to be quiet and they just want to educate themselves, but they don't want to get involved in bringing change. the best change they can do in their lifestyle. But some others may want to do more, not only changing in terms of their lifestyle, but changing other people's lifestyles. Like, for example, you may want to learn what's the best way of feeding yourself and what kind of vitamins and nutrients you should be consuming to be healthier. This is an important thing, and I encourage everybody to be alert about healthy way of eating. But then some of us may then say, I'll be happy to be healthy, but I also want my sister, my brother, my mom and dad to be healthy too. And then some of us will even go further. They will say, I'm happy that my family is eating in a healthy way, but how about my friends? How about the society that we live in? So, and as you go from yourself to your family, to your community, and to your city, to your country, to the rest of the world, and you are expanding your horizon, you are widening your focus, and that is something that can be done through better education, through practice, and by talking to other people.
Wow, I definitely want to apply that to my own life to constantly be taking in new information and questioning it, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, and sharing it with your friends will be the most important thing, because then you're not only educating yourself, but you are educating your family, your friends, everybody.
Yeah, those are very important skills. So I guess that's all. Thank you, Mustafa, for taking the time to join me today for this interview. And
You're welcome.
Yeah, where can our audience learn more about you?
Okay, yeah, and hope to hear from you. And what are you studying, by the way? I maybe I can ask you, what is your field?
Well, I'm a high school student. I'm going into grade 10, but I really like psychology and neuroscience. So that was really interesting to discuss with you today.
Excellent. Okay.
And do you have any platform where the audience can find you, like an Instagram or anything like that?
People can find information about my research at the TMU website, Toronto Metropolitan University, and the Center for Studies in Food Security website is also a good site. Google Scholar and LinkedIn are also good spaces where they can find about myself. So just I would say, just Google it.
Okay. All right, great.
Okay. Nice to talk to you.
You too. Thank you so
Good
much.
luck. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of What Do You Bring to the Table, a project of Seeds of Diversity's Youth and Food Systems program. Thanks again to the Catherine and Maxwell Meighen Foundation, the Peterborough K.M. Hunter Charitable Foundation, and the R. Howard Webster Foundation. And of course, thanks to you for listening. See you again soon.